Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 4 review. Alright, so, I don't know what to say. I mean, this week, this episode was a disappointment in my eyes. I feel like the last, in comparison to the last three, right? I feel like the last 3 weeks have been, really good. I felt like last week was a little bit dipped down, but episode 2 was one of the best episodes that we've seen of The Walking Dead, in my opinion. Barring maybe we could have saw more, seen more characters. But other than that, I felt like it was one of the best episodes. Definitely, I would say top 10 if we did see those more characters. Maybe even then top 8, maybe, right? But yeah, so this one was a letdown for me personally. I feel like it was just, I was watching it live and I was like, okay, not much stuff's happening here at the beginning. Maybe it'll get better. And it did at one point, of course, with Rick and Daryl. It did get better. And after that point, it kind of got better. But that was at like the 9:40 mark at Eastern time, and that's 40 minutes into the episode. So I just felt a little disappointed with this one overall. Of course, just going to go over a quick recap, kind of condensed here, not cover everything, but sort of the main things. Then get to, rating, overall thoughts, favorite character, typical stuff. Alright, so let's start off with a recap for this episode. So we start off the episode actually with a flashback of Ezekiel. I think it was, him sort of getting ready there in the mirror, and kind of, getting ready to go out. And obviously we know, like, right away that this is a flashback, right? Unless they skipped again, which I was actually thinking about, because they've tended, ever since, I think it was, episode 2, I guess, episode 2 and 3, both episodes, they did, like, time skips and flashbacks for this Kingdom group, but only the Kingdom group, so I didn't really understand that exactly. Maybe it's to symbolize something that I'm kind of missing on, I'm not sure. But yeah, so basically it was a flashback of him giving this speech to the Kingdom, to the group there, and he was saying, we are one, we are all one, and I thought it was a good speech and everything, right? So then we see the group, they all, kind of put their hands on him in a crowd, to have their hand on him and kind of be attached, like they are all one sort of thing. They're kind of buying into that. And then we see a bird's eye view, kind of zooming out of them all, in a group there, all touching him together. And then the scene switches to current time, and we see Ezekiel, piled under all these bodies that are touching each other, right? So I thought that was really strong. I thought that was a great shot there. And then we see Ezekiel get out from under the dead bodies. And yeah, I just thought it was such a great shot there, and doing the flashback to that. Thought it was a great transition. Walking Dead is so good with that when they use flashbacks. They are so effective into the next scene. So I thought that was another great example of that. But then we also learned that his leg is injured. So he actually got shot in his leg, I'm guessing, or something landed on his leg, and he cannot walk, normally. So then all of a sudden, he's kind of figured out he can't walk, and suddenly all these people, the Kingdom, group around him, are coming back to life as walkers already. So as well, I've seen some stuff as well about this, also, but that the humans, when they die, they actually are turning into walkers faster than before. So, there is a couple theories out there, of course, about it as well. But, I don't know. I think we definitely are seeing that in recent times. Or maybe just the writers have kind of got a little lazy. I don't know. That could be it, too. Or maybe we're just kind of missing the kind of time in between. But I just feel like they're coming back to life a little bit quicker. And this one, I mean, that was pretty fast, right? Because the Saviors were still packing up the guns, right, from firing them. So it wouldn't have been too long before that they would have still been firing and killing these people. So either these were, people that are killed right away first, or I'm not sure. But yeah, basically he cannot stand, and all these people are turning into walkers. So that kind of creates the big, first, dangerous situation for him in this episode, which there's quite a lot of. So I thought that was great. So then the Carol shooting down the Saviors who are taking the guns back. She sneaks in the compound there, and this is just vintage Carol, right, that we're used to. Maybe not last season, but the season before for sure, and seasons before that. So she sneaks in the compound. She's able to, get above them and actually shoot through the tiles there and kill all the men. And then, they kind of drop the guns, of course. But then, kind of backfires on her a little bit there as the other guys then come and try to shoot at her, and they kind of get her out of their way. And I think she just kind of runs, right? She just kind of runs away and tries to hide. And then these guys, take the guns and yeah. So they they basically get away with the guns anyways. And I just thought it funny how they just kind of walked over the dead bodies like it was nothing, picked up the guns and went. Like, I don't know, it just kind of seemed like they didn't care at all about those people. I don't know. So then, of course, after that, then Carol kind of comes out of hiding again. And she kind of eventually like slowly just trails behind these guys because she's not going to let them get away, right? So she kind of comes out there and then she kind of tries to make a stand on them. So she has a gun, obviously, and she tries to come out of the corner there, tries to pull a gun on them, and all of a sudden, we can see they know that she's there, and they start shooting at her, and just a big shootout breaks out in that lot there. That's fenced over, of course. So yeah, I just thought it was great to finally see this badass Carol again, right? Like I said, we probably haven't seen her since season 6. Maybe even the first half of season 6. JSS was one of her best episodes, right? So I felt like, yeah, it was great to see that again. And my question is, why do we have to see what we did in season 7 about her if she's now just right back to herself again? I get that sort of, trying to find herself sort of thing, that storyline. I appreciated it at the time, but now I'm thinking, why was that relevant? Why did we need to see that when she was just going to become what she used to be before now? I don't know. I just would like to see maybe some reluctance then now in this episode in particular in saying, okay, well, this is dead. I didn't want to be like this. And maybe having some reluctancy there, maybe thinking about it for a little bit. But no, we just saw badass Carol again in her total, form that she was before. So I don't know, a couple of plot lines like that. But as a fan, I just really appreciate that. So I kind of look past that. But of course, it does matter. I think overall, especially to hardcore fans that are kind of trying to piece things together here, and it doesn't really make sense. So then we see Ezekiel finally is helped by a kingdomer because he was about to die if he was left there alone trying to, crawl backwards from these all these walkers that are attacking him. So this kingdom guy comes in, helps him. I did recognize him, but I'm not sure his name. I don't think, he ever had a name in the show. So, yeah, so they start walking. They're kind of, looks like they're getting out of it okay, out of out of harm's way, until the savior Gunther, and I only know his name because I did some research here, but Gunther, real weird looking dude, right? I mean, he had those glasses. I heard Talking Dead, Chris Hardwick said to Jeffrey Dahmer glasses, and that that's really true, right? If you you look up pictures, they are the same type of glasses. I don't know exactly what they're called. Not aviators, right? But they're something like that. They kind of look like that with the huge, circle frames. But yeah, he was a real weird looking dude. I mean, I wouldn't mess with him, even, in the real world, right? Let alone the zombie apocalypse. So he just kind of comes out of nowhere. He just shoots this kingdomer dead right in front of Ezekiel, and Ezekiel, of course, falls down because, he was leaning on him for support. So that was a little bit, a mean thing to do, right? I mean, just an asshole move. And then he just represents that again as he takes Ezekiel, with him back to the compound. That's his plan, to bring him back. But of course, they're under orders that we learned from Morales last episode that they don't harm the widow, the king, or Rick, right? The three leaders of the group. So obviously, he's not going to do harm to Ezekiel at this point, but obviously, he's going to take him back to the compound and hopefully bring him to the sanctuary, right? But Ezekiel even says at one point, that they're not, they can't get into the sanctuary, they can't get out. Obviously, these saviors, aren't aware of this yet. Which is kind of surprising, with their whole communications and stuff. But yeah, they're not aware of it, so they're kind of oblivious right now. And I thought this was a very important part of this whole exchange here with Ezekiel and this savior guy. Is Ezekiel says at one point, Negan doesn't even know your name. Do you think Negan actually knows you or cares about you? And then of course, we get the the regular "I'm Negan" sort of thing. I am Negan, sort of thing, of course. But I thought, that first thing was a very meaningful thing. I mean, that's, and we can see even before he says "I am Negan," he thinks about it a little bit, right? I mean, that kind of gets to him a little bit. It's a very true statement from Ezekiel. I mean, it just shows how brainwashed these people are, these saviors are, that they call themselves Negan, and how Negan has just ruled over them with fear and all this, right? And it's so true. Negan doesn't even know that this guy exists. Yet he's, bringing Ezekiel for Negan, right? So just crazy stuff there, but I thought that was a very important little quote there from Ezekiel in this one. And yeah, I kind of appreciated the exchange there. It just seemed really repetitive. Like over and over again, Ezekiel would fall, and then Gunther would step on his leg or something, get him up walking again. He took a sword away, and then Ezekiel again, he slashed his stomach as well. He tried, trying to get away, and I don't know, just repetitive, right? And then we knew at the, eventually that he would be saved. We know that Ezekiel can't die. I did think actually about it when he was first, kind of under the dead bodies there and he got out. I mean, I'm like, we were told that there's going to be character deaths, but I didn't think Ezekiel was gone quite yet, right? I have, some knowledge of the comics. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I wasn't really, I didn't think his life was in danger at any point there. So I knew, nothing was going to happen. And then this is where, this is where he saves. So then Jerry comes in, and this was, I don't know, I felt like maybe for a casual viewer, this would have been surprising, would have been, really cool to see Jerry come back heroically, but I saw it happening the whole time. Right from the beginning, I said, okay, Jerry's not there, he's going to come on later, and he's going to save Ezekiel. It was just, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I don't know what else they could have done to make it not, as predictable. It was just way too predictable in my eyes. I knew that Jerry was going to come in there. It was just how he killed this Gunther guy, and it was great. I mean, the way he killed him was amazing. He comes in with his axe and just chops Gunther in half. I mean, he chops a human body in half with this huge battle axe. Very satisfying death for this guy. I mean, he totally deserved it. Scum of the earth, really, this guy. And I don't even think he really, was a true savior, really. I mean, not, usually the saviors aren't even, as bad as he is, right? So he was a, pretty bad guy. But yeah, great thing there, Jerry coming in, and I love his face was all bloody and his hair was all over the place, and I felt like that was great with Ezekiel too, and they just looked like they were in war, right? I mean, they didn't, and we saw Jerry, his hair neatly, back with a ponytail, and Ezekiel with his hair and his face, all clean, and then by the end of it here, they're all bloody, the hair's all over the place. So yeah, I really appreciate that as well. And then Jerry, I mean, he breaks his battle axe trying to get the gate unlocked there in the lock. The whole metal piece just slides off the stick. Rest in peace, Jerry's axe. And I'm honestly, I'm sad to see that happen. I mean, that was kind of his iconic, kind of thing about him, about Jerry. And, now the axe is gone. So he just has a sharp stick now, which is kind of funny. But anyways, so yeah, then they're kind of backed up against the fence. They start fighting off the walkers a little bit. Very cool scene. I thought this was pretty cool, and especially when Jerry, stabbed the one walker right in the eye with his stick. That was pretty interesting. And I thought, I don't know, this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I thought it was really similar. And again, we did learn from Scott Gimple and Greg Nicotero, Scott Gimple, the main showrunner, is that this whole season, not just episode 100, but this whole, midway through this first half of the season, it is about, paying homage to the rest of the series and episode 100 and all that, bringing up some old moments, especially with Morales, right, in episode 2. So I thought this was really similar to Glenn and Nicholas back in season 6 in Thank You, right, in that episode. Rest in peace, Glenn, by the way, when Glenn got under that dumpster there in season 6. But I thought that was really similar, right? They're backed up against the wall, just two of them trying to fight off these walkers, and I thought it was really resembled that. But unlike Glenn and Nicholas, Carol comes to the rescue. So she actually, works her magic with a shootout here, causes some commotion, gets the walkers to come in from the gate and actually, kill a couple of the saviors who are the gunmen. Then a couple go behind the truck with the guns all loaded up, ready to leave. So she actually decides that she's going to go help Jerry and Ezekiel that she sees instead of, getting the savior guys and letting them go back to the sanctuary with these guns. Of course, they don't end up going there. But yeah, so that was just great to see that she made that decision. She decides to let the other two go, and she helps Ezekiel and Jerry, gunning down on the walkers, letting them in with their key, and they're able to get to safety, all three of them. So I thought that was pretty interesting there. I thought that was a nice decision there from Carol. And then also Carol says, I think Ezekiel says, well, they're going to make it to the sanctuary, those guns, we can't let them. And Carol says, they won't get to the sanctuary. They won't be getting to the sanctuary. And then this is where the episode was just saved. I mean, this episode, without this scene or turn of events that I'm about to say, honestly, I would, rank it in the top 10 worst episodes of The Walking Dead. I thought it was not good at all. But with this scene, I thought this was one of the best scenes that we have seen in The Walking Dead, and I thought this was great. I mean, I'm just loving the Daryl and Rick stuff, but anyways, right after she says that, we see the road and we see the Daryl's bike, touch the wheel going on the pavement there, and that was awesome. That was just an awesome sight. Just kind of saved the episode, brightened my mood up a little bit. Then Daryl and Rick saved the episode with that chase scene. It was a great moment. And again, I don't think we've ever seen a car chase before in The Walking Dead. We've seen a lot of stuff and we've seen a lot of stuff repeated, but the car chase, I don't think we've ever seen. So that was really cool. And the way they did this was great. Where, they're kind of behind him. They're swerving a little bit because he has this gun. This one guy has a gun at the back of the truck. Daryl comes out from behind Rick's Jeep and he shoots the gunman in the back. And that was just awesome. Him, holding up the gun on the bike. That was awesome. I think that was from the trailer as well. That sort of, footage from that. So that was great. I really love that. And then this was, probably one of my favorite parts is Rick then pulls up beside the truck and the guy's just kind of like looking at him like, what are you doing, and he actually hops in when they're still moving. Rick just, jumps ship into the next one, and I thought that was so cool. I mean, that's so badass, right? So great to see from Rick. And yeah, I just thought it was fucking awesome. I mean, I'm sorry, but it was fucking awesome. It was great. So then he kills the man. He actually stabs him instead of shooting him so that he can, keep control of the truck, obviously. Kills the man, throws him out. That was one of my favorite parts. He just hits the pavement. That was great. And then crashes down in the swamp. He goes down there, and Daryl, kind of catches up to him, walks down a little bit, kind of worried, but kind of not. It's Rick, and this was just hilarious. Rick says, hey, he like just, saying hi, whatever, not, I'm okay or something. He just says, hey, and then he walks up with Daryl, and Daryl's like, you look like shit. I don't know. I just thought it was a really funny little, back and forth there. I thought it was great. I just love the bromance going on between the two, especially last episode and then this episode now. Just great. I mean, if we could see this for the whole season, this would be one of my favorite seasons of The Walking Dead. I mean, the bromance between these two characters is just amazing. Probably the two, main characters of the whole show. And for them to be together and have, lines like this is just great. So kudos to the writers on that one and the actors, of course, as well. So yeah, that was great. And then, of course, they're saying, okay, let's load up the guns. We got to get him out of here. And then they said, they're going to check on the guy and see if he's alive. So that's kind of where we end off with that one. And then we kind of just getting the end sequence there at the end. So yeah, the episode ends then with Ezekiel, Carol, and Jerry making their way back to the kingdom on foot. So yeah, I'm actually not sure if this was completely the end. This may be taking a little bit out of chronological order here. And yeah, really sad part in this episode, probably, the most emotional. So they're, making their way back to Kingdom on foot. They find a lake of walkers in this sort of gross, sort of swampy, muddy kind of lake here. And, they're trying to fight them off. And there's quite a lot of them, to be honest, but they're able to make it across the river. Ezekiel is kind of ready to sacrifice himself all of a sudden, and we kind of understand that with all the stuff he's went through in the episode, with being the king and he, witnesses all these other people sacrifice for him. And obviously, I will touch on that a little bit later again, but yeah, so he's ready to sacrifice himself. He tells him to go along, to go ahead. he will do it, which doesn't really make much sense because honestly, like, there wasn't that many walkers. Like, to be honest, Ezekiel being the kind of guy he is, he's a pretty good fighter, right? I think he could have gotten all of the walkers, and they weren't really in immediate danger either. They got across the river. Well, the walkers weren't getting up from that river and going for them. So I don't know why he would have to stay back and sacrifice himself. I just felt like the writing there was a little bit off. Like, I would have gone, okay, yeah, like, there's a herd coming or something, and they were really close. But there was, I don't know, probably maximum 20 walkers there in a little, like, gorge. And he was ready to sacrifice himself, to die for them and told them to keep going. So, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit off there. And he's ready. He's about to. And then Shiva comes out of nowhere, his tiger, of course. And, yeah, really emotional moment here. She's able to fight off a few walkers. But yeah, she can't do much here. She doesn't really stand a chance against 20 walkers coming at her at the same time, and yeah, she flings one up against the tree, and then she can't do anything. She's taken down, and eventually these walkers kind of start eating her, and then we see blood flowing down the river. So very emotional moment. And Ezekiel, is trying to, get to Shiva to save her, and obviously not a smart idea. I mean, he would have died too. And Jerry, says, you can't save her, anymore. So yeah, very emotional there. Apparently, I didn't read this part in the comics. I'm not up to date. But yeah, apparently, this was kind of foreseeable because in the comics, this is the way she died as well. I don't know. I just felt like it came out of nowhere. I mean, how does Shiva just randomly appear, I mean, in this exact, lake and just sacrifice herself for Ezekiel? I don't know. Just seemed a little bit too unrealistic at this point. Maybe, okay, like, maybe they see her out in the distance or something, but I don't know. It just seemed too rammed in. I mean, it just seemed like they were just trying to create a moment. Yes, it was emotional. They did a good job with that, but I just felt like it was forced, to be honest, with Shiva just coming in, out of the blue, randomly, into the exact same, spot and risking, her life. But, yeah, very emotional moment to see the tiger go. Obviously, that's going to damage Ezekiel's, kind of, picture in his image towards the group, because that was a big thing. I mean, the man has a friggin' tiger. I mean, like, even, Negan says it, there's a, is that a tiger or whatever back in the finale last season. So, yeah, I felt like, that's going to damage Ezekiel for sure. And then later on, the three of them do eventually return back to the kingdom. They open up the doors. Ezekiel returns back. And yeah, I mean, this was such an emotional moment as well. Really emotional ending to this episode, but Ezekiel returns back and he walks right by all the group of people. Just shows that, at the beginning of the episode, we saw him real, into it, giving the speech, we are all one, really, getting the group together, talking to them, and now he just walks right past them. It doesn't want to, talk to him. And that's, the whole episode kind of took us through that, why he ended up doing that. And he's hobbling, of course, right, with his cane. And yeah, such an emotional moment that these group of people are waiting for their loved ones, their friends to return. And it's only the three of them that survived from the whole group. Well, actually, we don't know that for sure, right? But at this time, only three of them returned. So really, really emotional. I mean, it just speaks volumes as to what the war is all about. This is the first real loss for the survivors, I would say. Saviors have had a lot more death than this so far. I think the survivors have already won like 2 battles. And this one was definitely a big loss for the survivors. So, yeah, just, speaks volumes, like I said, to what war is really about. And you're obviously going to lose some. And we knew that, they're not invincible. So, yeah, really emotional moment there, returning back. And Carol and Jerry are kind of just standing there. They don't really know what to do either, with Ezekiel just kind of walking right by. He's always one for, making speeches, getting a group together, and he just kind of gives up and walks right by. So, yeah, anyways, great ending to this episode, I will say. I thought it was very impactful, very emotional with Shiva's death, and then them kind of walking back into the kingdom. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 3.8 out of 5. Honestly, I was disappointed with this episode. I felt like the first half of the episode, at least, was probably, if that alone was the episode, I felt like that was one of the worst episodes of The Walking Dead. I felt like it was pretty bad. Yeah, the moments with Carol, being a badass, yeah, that was good. but I expect a little bit more at this point from season 8, especially after the last 3 episodes were so good that yeah, I don't know. I just felt like this was a big drop off from there. Felt like there were some positives, but a lot of negatives and a lot of, moments like, really, I definitely saw Jerry, coming in to save the day. Why, how does Shiva just kind of randomly show up? I mean, stuff like that. How are Rick and I missed this one, but how are Rick and Daryl at the exact same spot that this truck with the guns goes by? That was my question, and I asked some people around me too, and they had no idea either. So there were a few things in this episode where I was like, really? Like, I get it, yeah, it's entertaining, it's cool, but like, we gotta keep it a little realistic here, right? But I don't know, maybe I'm missing some completely, and if I am, really feel free to let me know. But to me right now, I'm kind of missing on that one. I'm kind of, I don't know what to say. I just think it's, really unrealistic. But anyways, main part of this episode that I didn't kind of touch on with the recap is the Ezekiel bit. So I felt like it was very strong. I really liked the backstory. I guess it wasn't much of a backstory, but it was a little bit more into it. How he was kind of before, and him, that flashback with him and Carol before they set out on the war. Thought that was really good too. I actually liked that. I felt like that wasn't really a waste of screen time. And like some of the flashbacks have been in the past. But yeah, no, I thought it was good. I thought it was some powerful flashbacks kind of showing that. And then I felt like the title for this episode, again, was great. All three have been really good so far. So Some Guy. So it really resonated throughout the episode here. That's what the episode title is. And obviously it applies to Ezekiel, and it's kind of showing that he's not a king. It's a fake it till you make it. He says that in episode 2, where he says, well, yeah, I just fake it till I make it. And yet I smile and all that stuff, right? He's not a king. That just doesn't exist at this point. Yeah, he's a leader, but he's not a king. That's just, it's fiction, right? He is just really some guy. And I felt like that was just great. Of course, I'm kind of using the same words in the what it means, but in the definition, I guess. But yeah, no, I felt like it was great. It just really for him to kind of come to terms with that, and then also telling Jerry, don't call me, you don't have to call me Majesty and King, what, why are you doing that? I'm not a king. I'm just a regular guy. And then, Jerry calls him, you're a cool dude. So I thought that was kind of funny as well. But yeah, I really like, the way they kind of took this episode from beginning to end, and we kind of saw that, change in that. And I think that's going to be big for Ezekiel, and I think that's going to be a bad thing for the survivors in the end, because I think he was such a good leader with that whole king thing, and I think now he's going to kind of not, totally just abolish the whole king thing and turn into a different person, no. But I think that he's going to, change a little bit of his, the way he does things, the way he leads. And I think that's going to hurt the kingdom. I think that type of leadership is needed there, and I feel like he was doing such a great job with it. So I'm kind of worried, actually, what this may entail then in the future, because, like, again, at the end of the episode, when he comes back, he doesn't really, comfort them at all, and that's kind of the main thing, what he does usually for these people. I felt like they could have done a little bit better with it, though, to be honest. I felt like they could have maybe, had more parts with him, kind of, maybe even more flashbacks, because the first 40 minutes of this, or at least, 40 minutes of the hour, I shouldn't say 40 minutes of the episode, it was probably about 25 minutes, was mainly just him and the savior guy, and him trying to survive from these walkers. So, yeah, I feel like that time could have been filled a little bit more with some flashbacks, maybe, do it a little bit more. I just feel like it was a little rushed in him coming to that sort of ideology then, of saying, he is just some guy. He's not a king, sort of stuff. And I feel like the whole thing with, the guys kind of protecting him and all dying for him, on top of him, that was pretty, impactful in that decision as well. And I felt like, yeah, okay, maybe that would have, kind of triggered that kind of idea. But it's definitely true. I mean, and I think he realizes it before. It's just now he sees it even more with the action that, his group takes. So, yeah, could have done a little bit better with it, but I did appreciate it nonetheless. I went over the couple negatives there. I felt like a real positive one was the beginning of the episode. I felt like the positive, another positive was the end of the episode. I felt like the in between was a little bit, sketchy a little bit at times. Daryl and Rick moment was probably the best scene of the episode, and maybe arguably even one of the best scenes of the series. And that kind of saved this episode for me. Favorite character for this one is, of course, Ezekiel, and I just spent, a little bit talking about him. Played by Khary Payton. He's doing such a great job with this role. When he came on last season, of course, or was it last season? I think it was. No, I guess he was in a little bit of season 6. I think, right? I think so. I'm not positive, but I think he was. Yeah, I mean he's gone through such a transition from there till then, or there till now. Sorry. Yeah, I just really think he's a great actor, and him, he's basically playing a character within a character, right? I mean, because he's playing a real, guy named, I don't even think, is his real name Ezekiel? I guess, but he's playing Ezekiel, who's playing a king. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of, skill to do something like that, and I feel like he's doing a great job with it. And I felt, yeah, like this transition in this episode was great. Really focused on a lot, especially with the title of the episode. There's kind of the focus of it. And I felt like, I don't know, I feel like they could have done this next episode. I feel like we could have seen a little bit more action in this one. Just because of the way that the last three were, with the momentum kind of rising, and then this one kind of just, brought it all to a halt. But yeah, I did still appreciate it though. I thought it was needed for sure. But yeah, so it was great. Yeah, so that is just about the video for this week. Sorry, this one is running a little bit long. I'm trying to, cap these now under 25 minutes. I realize that this one won't be, but yeah, in the future I'm gonna be trying to do that. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for the recent support on the channel, guys. Really, really like to thank you. We're almost at 10,000 channel views, which is amazing. I mean, that's just, I didn't think that I would, ever get to that at this point. It sounds cheesy, I know, but yeah, I really, really appreciate it, guys. So thank you so much, and keep showing your support for the channel as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe. That means a lot as well. So, anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week for The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 5. Can't believe we're already 4 episodes in. Where is time gone? Anyways, see you next week.